With more financial tips, Esther Halt is back with us this week. Hello, Esther.
Hello,
Okay,
how are you?
Good. So this week we're going to talk about performance, okay? Often we hear that an advisor or portfolio manager is outperforming in the market.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Normally it means that they have outperformed or done better than a certain index. Most of the time it's the S&P 500. There are other indexes, but most of the time they're talking about that. It's supposed to be a good general picture of all the stock market.
And can people find that readily online?
Oh, online, in the papers, on TV, everywhere. Okay. Yeah, you can see what the S&P. Also, the three major indexes are the Dow Jones Industrials, sure, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ.
Okay, and those are the three.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Those, yeah. Okay, those are the three that most people keep their eyes on and get a good.
Actually, NASDAQ is not an index.
Okay. Okay.
It's a market, but the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrials is only 30 companies, so the S&P is 500, and that's usually what they talk about.
Okay. Okay. Now, what's a good basis to know whether your accounts are doing well or not? I mean, you're going to be looking at these.
Well, let's first talk about, if this really is a good way to see if you're outperforming or
sure,
not. And the answer is no.
Okay.
So what happens is most portfolios don't look just like the S&P 500. So if yours does, then it's a good way to tell whether you're doing better or not. Mm-hmm. But the S&P 500 is only very large companies and only 500 stocks. So if you have smaller companies, if you have medium-sized companies, if you have bonds, if you have alternative investments, then you're not going to look like the S&P 500. So it's not really a good way to tell whether you're doing better or not. You really need to know what yours is. And sometimes when they say, I've outperformed the S&P 500, mm-hmm, it means that they've done better. But sometimes it means that you've still lost money. You just haven't lost as much, like in 2008.
Okay. Are there other measures for knowing whether your stocks are doing well or not?
Well, stocks in your portfolio in general. Mm-hmm. So with my clients, they come in to see me and we discuss this. And when we put together a portfolio for them, I will tell them, you know what? When you see the 6 o'clock news and you see that the S&P has gone up a lot, you can expect that your account has gone up, but maybe not as much because we're more conservative than that is. Also, but when it goes down, you may not go down as much. Again, because most of my clients' portfolios do not look like the S&P 500. Mm-hmm. The other thing that people don't understand is that the S&P 500 is a little bit more risky than people think. So more than 1/4 of the S&P 500 is invested in tech stocks, which of course are very volatile and have higher risk. So again, if you have the old stodgy companies like utilities and banks, they're not represented as well as the more aggressive ones. And again, we've already just talked about diversifying and we've discussed how to rebalance. Sure. That's one of the reasons why.
Okay. Well, a lot of this sounds familiar, sounds like what we've been talking about the past couple weeks. Mm-hmm. So is there anything else that you'd like to add today?
Basically, when you start to do this, you need to go to your financial advisor and really talk about what you have and understand what you have. And then you can decide how you're going to invest or how much risk you want to take, what it's going to look like. Do you want to have more in international, maybe more that pay dividends, all different kinds of investments out there. So totally work with your financial advisor. Broker check your financial advisor and make sure you're getting very good information from that person.
Okay. Any final tip before we close this week?
Well, as usual, I have a disclosure.
Okay.
Diversification may reduce some risks of investing, but does not insure against market losses. As always, I believe you should work with a credible financial advisor who will work with you to make sure you are invested in a way that suits your needs. Feel free to call me for a no-obligation portfolio review.
Great. Thanks, Esther. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. To find more tips from local experts, you can view previous episodes and complete seasons at snntv.com under programming. We'll be back next Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. with more tips on how you can live a happier and healthy life. Until then, have a wonderful week.